Rebellious Studio presents the Mind Body Podcast with your host, Maria Angelova. Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. It is my pleasure today to have here with me my colleague and fellow entrepreneur, Matt Shoup. Is that correct, Matt? Did I get it right?
Absolutely. You sure did. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Matt. So Matt and I connected through the topic of comfort zone, or rather stepping outside of your comfort zone. And before we dive into that juicy conversation, Matt, let's start with 3 words that describe you and tell us a little bit about yourself through those 3 words.
Wow. I'd say energetic, visionary, troublemaker.
All right. So that's that's the one that speaks to me. That's the rebellious spark right there.
I just remember growing up always being filled with energy, ideas, creativity. And it seemed like everywhere that I went, or a lot of the places that I went, I was told, you can't do that. You can't think that way. You can't sit down, shut up, do what you're told, follow the rules. And I just rebelled against that. And that led me into business as well as other things that I'm sure we'll talk about. So, yeah.
You know, it's very interesting because I am the older sister and I grew up with my brother who is 5 years younger and my cousin who is only a year younger. I was the oldest one. And I always had bright ideas of what we should do and what we should experiment with. And then they would say, who did this? And I would always blame it on my poor little brother and be like, he did. And somehow, you know, parents like do the lie detection test. And they're like, you're just a mastermind. I always had some bright idea to experiment. But so speaking of stepping out of the comfort zone, let's talk, why is that important for all of us? What's the fun about living outside there?
Because if you don't do it, you don't grow. If you don't do it, you don't explore new things, have new experiences, meet new people, come across new opportunities. I look at where I am today and where I came from. So on paper, I should be dead in prison or disappeared. I grew up in New Jersey, ran around with a crowd of kids that's what happened to them. And, I left that environment, but I look at where I am today and everything that we'll talk about. It was because I explored new opportunities, was not comfortable doing it. I took chances, took risks, and those all led me to where I am today. You know, we talked about Spain offline. I literally went to study abroad. One example, that was one of the most uncomfortable places and experiences that I ever had, where I grew the most, I learned the most. I met all these amazing people. I'm 19 and a Spanish professor kind of bothered me every day. She said, hey, you need to go study in Spain. You're going to love it. And I said, what the heck? I literally threw my hands up one day, dropped everything I was doing. And 2 months later was over there, and very uncomfortable. It was a daily struggle and challenge, but also opportunity to grow.
And it was uncomfortable and it was challenging. What was on the other side of that discomfort and challenge?
The great stuff, the amazing stuff, the fun stuff. I mean, I remember one point, and I think I wrote about this in the article. I'm on a customer service line. I don't remember what I'm trying to get some kind of Spanish customer service, which has a fame for not being the best anyway. And I'm just struggling to communicate. And I mean, I was hungry and was missing home and missing my friends. And I just couldn't communicate with this person. We weren't understanding each other. And I just threw my hands up and I think I screamed some profanity. I'm like, I'm going home. And I mean, that was the moment where I had that opportunity, because they said, if you want to go home, you can go home. There's kids that went home, and I just said, no, that's not gonna, that's just gonna bring me right back to what I know, what I'm comfortable with, and where I've been. So I decided to stay. And it was literally right after I made that commitment at that moment. That's when the beauty of that experience really started happening.
Unfolded. And I shared with you that I absolutely love travel. I grew up in communist Bulgaria, which we didn't have too much flexibility in traveling. And when we came to the United States, my big trip by myself, I actually went to visit a friend in Colombia right after graduating high school. And then Brazil, I just went by myself visiting my friends. And it was, yes, there was discomfort, but it was so cool to explore new cultures, meet new people who think, act differently, new foods. I just think travel is such an amazing way to grow. And it's not as scary, I personally think, And people were like, oh, you're going to do this by yourself? I'm like, heck yeah, yes. It's a beautiful experience.
It is. And I think travel is nice because you get to push yourself out of your comfort zone in so many different ways. There's obviously the language, there's a language barrier. I learned Spanish, I learned Latin American Spanish. And they're like, don't worry about conjugating the verb that way. They only do that in Spain. Well, guess where I ended up? I end up in Spain. So I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And so there's that. There's different points of view. You know, in America, like we're a huge country. I go 10 hours either way. I'm still in my country, and I had my beliefs and my mindset. So when you're talking about getting out of comfort zone, it's physical, mental, it's your beliefs, it's your mindset, it's politically whatever it is, and it's a really cool thing.
It's multidimensional. And speaking of the mindset, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think so frequently we're not even aware of the belief system that we carry, because it is what it is and everybody around us has the same system. So therefore it is right or correct, or however you want to define it. And then you go to another place that thinks differently, believes differently, behaves differently. And sometimes it's like, well, that's not the right way. And it's like, is it not the right way, or is it just different way? And that gives you a little bit of a perspective. Let's talk about how traveling, I guess we're going to stick with the topic of traveling, challenge your belief system.
Yeah, it was interesting, because when I would come across a situation where it was different, I wouldn't say it was different. I said, you're not doing things the right way, because it's not my way. What got me a lot was the metrics. You have pounds and ounces versus grams and kilograms. You go, why don't you guys just do it our way? And they said, you're the only ones that do it that way. So
I was about to say, you're going to have a hard time convincing me of that. You guys are wrong. We do it right.
So just that example of maybe there is no right or wrong way. It's just what that culture and that people group historically, or whatever it is, based on their experiences and their past, have decided to do, and it works for them. But it was really interesting to adapt to that, like food. We eat a big breakfast here early in the morning, and then we eat a lunch and dinner. And breakfast is a piece of toast, cup of coffee. I had to get used to that. And then your big sit down meal, it's a 2-3 hour lunch. So things of that nature. Just how you eat, when you eat, what you eat. And was really interesting. I loved one of the best experiences, most memorable when I lived there, is I would sit there with my host dad and we drink whiskey. And he's like, Matt, I'm going to teach you the Spanish that you're not going to learn anywhere else. And he was teaching me the slang and the street language and the profanity and all of that stuff. And host mom would be like, Miguel, you need to stop that. And he's like, I gotta teach him the things that he needs to know. He can't go get in trouble out there. But I got my belief systems really challenged in. As an American, I go, oh, we've got history, and they would laugh. You have 200 years. Oh, 200 years of history. We have thousands of years. You look at all of the people groups that have been in Spain and the cultures. They're like, you don't have history. So I would get really upset when people would say that. But I look back and it's like, hey, we definitely don't have as much at all. So
yeah, how has challenging your belief system helped you on your entrepreneurial journey? Because I'll tell you what challenged my belief system is, well, one, transitioning to the US, but I'll tell you, when I first came here, I was like, oh man, Americans do a lot of things wrong, kind of the same mindset, until I realized, well, I'm in a different country and I have to adapt to where I am. They don't have to adapt to me. That was one. But I really had my belief system challenged when I entered entrepreneurship, and I was very unaware of my belief system, and especially of my limiting beliefs.
Yeah, it's interesting, because in business, you look at COVID, right? Over the past couple of years, there were business owners that had to pivot their business model literally overnight to survive and then thrive. So as entrepreneurs, for me personally, and a lot of them that I know, we're very proud and excited about our ideas. We're going to do it our way, and we're going to take charge. But sometimes we also get pretty arrogant and stubborn and fixed on those things. So we just get into that mindset, and it's like a head through a brick wall. It needs to work. And it's like, just look at this a little different way. Look how this culture, company, people group, whoever, how they do this. And you just need to be open-minded to that. So if you get too stuck in your ways, sometimes that can be your downfall. And I saw businesses during COVID, they're not around anymore because they're like, we're going to do it this way. And they took it right to being out of business.
And I think exactly that is what pushed me to grow, Matt, because I was like, I'm going this way. And life was like, no, you're not. You're going this way. And I was like, but no, I'm going this way. And it kept not working out to where I was like, okay, I guess we'll go this way. And then the more I learned to trust the journey and to trust myself. And I'll tell you, that's why when COVID started, I had to close my studio. I used to teach only in person. And that day came when I remember that conversation with my husband, and he said, you have to close. And I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, that's my income.
Yeah.
And I was opposed to online teaching. And I said, you know what is the saying? When life brings you lemons, you make, what is that saying? You make I totally slaughtered that.
Lemonade. You were going to say margarita. You were going to say margaritas.
I was thinking of margaritas for some reason.
You can do that too. You can do that too. Depends what you like.
But it was so, I am so glad that I had that shift of mindset to just be open and adaptable, because had I not been, I had to keep my studio a lot longer than 2 weeks, couple of weeks, which is what we originally thought. And had I not pivoted, I would not have made it. So flexibility, adaptability is so key for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it is. We have one of our businesses is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu studio, and we actually had just purchased this building that we're in right here, right before COVID, tore it all up to do a renovation, mainly to build out the gym. And then right when it was about done is when things got shut down. So yeah, we literally had to pivot. We built an online curriculum, and that was the way that was available, and it worked out. So yeah, that's super important, just to be flexible, not to be so stuck in your ways that you can't take advice. And then, some business owners, you have to be careful about who and how you take advice. I always like to say that, take advice from somebody that has that experience, has that relevance. But I also know that I received some great business advice during COVID about some shifts from people that weren't business owners. They just saw things differently.
Yeah, it's great to get the multidimensional view of the same situation.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Matt, you're a very successful business owner, and you have owned multiple businesses. You're a serial entrepreneur. What would you say are a few key things to be a successful business owner, an entrepreneur?
Yeah, gosh, that's such a great question. There's so many things. Is when you first start, because there's different levels. There's that initial, you're launching, you're just getting started, and it's like everything's on your shoulders. So you're doing the marketing, you're doing the sales, the delivery, the accounting, everything. And I tell people just one thing at a time. Just remember that you're going to get to the end of the day and you can't get everything done. Determine what the most important thing is and do that, and then do the next thing, and just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important too that you determine what you're really good at, what your gifting is within the business, what you're great at, what you love to do. At first, you might be doing everything, but like I love marketing and sales. So I was very much focusing on that and then hiring out a team around the rest. But then you get to a point where you need to step out of sometimes even what you're great at operationally, the marketing, the sales, so you can build the other layers of the business, build more team, if that's what you want to do with your business. So there's always different challenges at different levels of business, and don't be so hard on yourself. I meet so many entrepreneurs, just the fact that you started a business and you're operating a business, there's 33 million new businesses or businesses in the United States last year. And, half of them aren't going to make it within 5 years. So just the fact that you've been able to start a business, make it past year 1, make it to year 5, go a little easier on yourself sometimes.
That's, I always say, celebrate the wins. Sometimes they feel like they're small wins because we don't get today to tomorrow to where we want to be. And I do have to say, sometimes it's challenging when things don't work out the way you want them to work out and as fast as you want them to work out. But I think that's also part of the growth journey. Because really that's where you grow, when things don't move as fast as you want them to and they don't go as you want them to.
And sometimes they don't go that way for a reason that you may never know. And I'm very hard-headed. We need to do it this way, and we're supposed to get here, and then it stops here, and then we turn in a different direction. It's like, maybe here was a really bad spot. Maybe you were heading for something that you didn't know was going to severely impact you, your business, your family. So the 2 steps back many times is not such a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, by trusting my intuition and just kind of allowing the journey to take me where it needs to, has taken me place. I did not know my business would be here. I did not know I'll be on a podcast, on my own podcast, but here I am today. And
Yeah.
it's just writing that journey step by step.
Yep. It's just one day at a time. And don't compare your journey to anybody else's too. It's very easy. Like you go to social media, right? And scroll through, oh, look what they're doing. And no, like look at what you're doing today. Where were you yesterday, last week, last month? And just make sure that you're moving along and that you're improving every day. And you know, we live in a culture everywhere you go where it's perfection, it's comparison, and those can be very deadly to a business owner or leader, anybody's journey.
Yeah. Matt, I do have to ask you, what is your definition of rebellious?
Of rebellious? Of not doing what the crowd is doing, not doing what you're told to do just because somebody's telling you to do it, or because that's how everybody is doing it. You look at innovators, you look at people that have changed the world, or in whatever capacity, everybody's going this way, and this is where the fun is. That's where the ideas are, and you don't have to follow the crowd and follow the pack.
Yeah, I like that. That's exactly my definition. Stay true to yourself. And
Yep.
Matt, any key advice, any favorite quote, any piece of inspiration you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so I wrote a book that released just a couple of months ago. It's called Painted Baby. And the thesis of that book is that painting a picture of perfection prevents true connection. So the challenge, the encouragement to business owners and just everybody listening to this is when you're going to go do business with or connect with somebody else, don't think that they're going to trust you or want to do business with you because you're a shiny marketing brochure, right? You're A+ 5-star. Share moments of imperfection, of failure, of times that you really screwed up, because that's going to show your human factor. And then that's going to let somebody else's guard down because everybody's posturing. And you're going to build a deeper human connection and build deeper trust that way. And that's what ultimately will advance you in life, leadership, business, and relationships.
You know, I am very much a believer in authentic relationships and really getting to know the person. It's great that you have an impressive title and an impressive company, but I want to know, you know, I was joking with somebody and I said, pleasure to meet you. I want to know all of your dark secrets. She started laughing. But, you know, I want to know what excites you, what pisses you off, like what gets you going, you know, why are you excited about what you do? Because we're too, and you know, that's actually another reason when I started the podcast, I was like, I don't want to go by people's titles. Like, I don't want to go, I am the this and this of this company. Like, I want to know who is the person behind the face.
And when you get real and you let your guard down, sorry to interrupt, it just brought one more point. When you're with another person in whatever kind of engagement, somebody lets their guard down and they talk about their struggles and their challenges, that's where the real fun, real interesting, real engaging conversations start. And again, like when you don't do that, it's, hey, how are you? How are the kids? How's your weekend? It's like, come on, I don't need 100 more of those conversations. And I find that the leaders that really dig in and converse that way and tell stories that way, they have a lot richer life, more successful business, deeper relationships.
Well, I think that goes back to vulnerability and again, authenticity. It's, I think sometimes we hide behind titles. Tell me if you agree with that, because just because you're successful and have a great title doesn't mean you don't have a human part of you that's maybe aching or not feeling good, or, you know, is having a day where you just want to get back in bed and sleep. And it's okay to know that very successful people have those type of days. I had a client ask me one time, she said, are you always this happy? And I had to laugh. And I said, well, you know, when I have those moments when I'm feeling down, I am just more aware of it. And I'm more intentional to pick my vibrations and to do something to make me feel happy. It's not that I don't have a human experience and I'm always like, woo.
Yeah. Like and everybody has a story behind their title. And, you know, and everybody's got something going on behind whatever they're presenting to you too. So being able to make those connections between people is so important.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's, and you know, I was talking to somebody last week and she called it relationship driven networking. She called it something like relational networking, something like that. I like that because it is truly, for example, I run my business very much relationship driven. I have personal relationships with my clients. And I'll tell you, other studio owners believe that that's a no-no. I don't know. For me, I want to know, your spouse, your kids, what's going on at home, because that reflects in your state of being, in how you feel, in how your life goes. So if I don't know that, it's just a transaction in and out, and that's not fun.
Well, and not everybody can do that too. So like if that's unique to you and that works for you and that drives the business forward, that's a unique value proposition for you. You're not just, hey, I'm not just teaching you this. I'm pouring into your life. I'm getting to know you. I'm here to make your life better, and way more than the tangible that you deliver with a business. So that's awesome. Love it.
Yeah. Well, Matt, tell us, where can people follow you? Website, social media?
Yeah, best places, go to mattshoup.com. I've got some free leadership and business tools there, and then information about everything I do, the fun trips to Spain. And then I've got little social media icons where you can follow me there on the social.
Matt, you mentioned retreats to Spain. Tell us about that, because that sounds fabulous.
Yeah. Well, so when I studied abroad in Spain, I fell in love with the country and the culture. And I always love coming back and sharing stories, but I'm like, I want to take people over there. So we took our team last year for a leadership adventure retreat. And then I'm a big fan of the Camino. So I've hiked, part of the Camino with my son, with other groups. And we're going to go in September. We have a group of 7. We have about 3 more spots left. We're going to do 70 miles, 6 days. We're going to unplug, disconnect, recenter, refocus, and rejuvenate, and just have some really great, deep leadership discussions with people that are very, typically busy entrepreneurs that just can't get out of their own way. And then along the way, we're going to have a physical challenge, great food, great company, great scenery. And it's called Hike of a Lifetime on the Camino.
Okay. And that's all, the information is all on your website.
Yeah, there's a little tab, Travel to Spain with Matt. I have 2 different experiences that I do. One is the hike, and then one is more of an adventure, kind of an amazing race adventure tour that I do. We're doing that one in 2024. But yeah, all the info's on the website there.
Fabulous. Matt, I am grateful for your time. Thanks for making the time in your busy schedule to be with us here. And I thank all of you for listening and tuning in. And you know what to do next. You're going to make it a rebellious day. Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.